What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with the overall market, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about some key levels to watch for on Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and many other tickers, and break down why the market is still looking relatively weak. But before I break anything down about why on earth that is, now the market fails to get any sort of bounce. It made an attempt to bounce and failed, and now it's looking even weaker. Let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer is very soon, it's in just about 8 days, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So on SPY in the morning, I told everyone that SPY was trying to bounce, but it had to break 428 for us to turn bullish, and if it ended up failing, this thing would continue to sink. What happened? We failed to get above the 50 EMA. Tesla started to sink down. I told you if we broke 426.5 specifically, this thing would start tanking, and that's what ended up happening, right? We ended up failing to get any sort of bounce, and the market's continuing to look weaker. We did gap up. We were trying in the very beginning, but we failed, and so far, SPY is continuing to look very weak. So is Tesla. Tesla's now breaking below 240, which is a key level, and now Tesla's looking even weaker as the market is becoming more and more fearful. So looking at the fear and greed index, we're driven by fear right now. We've hit this extreme fear level finally, and this is some big news because yields are continuing to go up. The VIX is once again holding up. We can see fear is driving market momentum and other things like this. And down here we have the VIX, which is once again extremely fearful now. The VIX is continuing to pump as the market slows down, and it's well above the 50-day moving average still, telling us that this downside trend in the market is still strong and still perpetuating. Looking forward, we can see right here the Dow is giving up 100 points. The gain that it made, and it's turned negative as the yields are continuing to go up. And with yields going up and oil moving higher, the market is continuing to sell off. There are more fears about inflation as well. Moving forward, as we're getting more signals with the higher oil prices. And on top of that, sentiment is shifting, becoming more negative because of the recessionary fears, and yields are continuing to climb as we're getting closer and closer to the big recession. So, with that said, guys, all this fear that's driving the market is causing it to slow down. Right now, SPY just bounced off 424. It's trying to hold, but like I said before, it doesn't matter that much because we're still looking very weak on the 4-hour time frame. Still looking very weak right there. The 30 minutes time frame is also looking weaker. If you look at the overall trend, very bearish so far. If you want to turn bullish, you want to see this thing try to get all the way back up above 426.5, and we're very far from there. We're still looking very weak. Now, I just wanted to call out something else that's important, and that is when you look at the daily charts on SPY, okay, I'm going to close my Bollinger Bands real quick for you. Going back many weeks, we formed a gap around the very low 420s the last time I checked it. So we're trying to fill this gap, and I think this gap is going to get filled, taking SPY all the way down to potentially 418. I think 418 is going to be a good target, and it could drop even lower than that. Around that areas where we may see a lot of buyers step in. There's also a gap down to like 410. I'm not counting on 410 to be a target just yet unless we break below 418. But for now, 418 seems very probable, not to mention these much lower levels. So as far as SPY goes, it's just on a big free fall. We're getting very close to our 200 EMA, around 422.5. We could be, testing that soon before we make any attempt for some buyers to step in. But so far, the market looks very weak. The market is continuing to lose strength, and the bears are in control. For Tesla, the daily is looking weaker. Tesla broke below 240. It was getting very tight, and now we have a break to the downside, and Tesla has failed to get any sort of bounce. It was trying in the morning, and it ended up failing. Now Tesla's on a free fall, and we're going to be watching this 238 level. If that breaks on Tesla, 235 is now coming, and below 235, we're likely going to come all the way down to 230. Tesla has a clear head and shoulders leg structure. We actually failed to get that right shoulder, but it doesn't matter. It's looking very weak. I'm going to be watching this thing basically approach 230 very soon. So it's looking more bearish. I'm going to be watching this 238 support right now for Tesla. If that breaks, we have a little support at 237.5. Below that, we have 235. Tesla looks bearish overall. Aapl looks bearish. We just got this very bearish looking daily candle, also on the 4-hour candle as well, not to mention the daily. And then we have a bearish cross on the PPO looking weak. And the biggest thing for Aapl is we're below 170. We broke some critical support, which means we're looking even weaker, and we're likely going to continue to sink into the 160s. Now, looking at the daily charts, there's a level that's very important. way down here, we actually broke below the 200 EMA. And I just wanted to call out this gap down here. We have this big gap on Aapl. I remember looking at this earlier. There's a big gap on Aapl down to about 165. I think Apple's going to fill the gap to 165, and we're going to see tech sell off pretty hard. I think that Apple's looking very weak now, and this thing is going to sell off even harder now that we've broken below 170. It looks weak, so watch that gap below, and the market's still looking bearish. The QQQ, we were talking about this thing. If we want to turn bullish, we want to see this thing break and hold above 358. We want to see it push. We failed to do so, and now the QQQ is selling off, getting dragged down by all these different tickers from Nvda. Nvidia's not playing that big a role, but more like Tesla's. Apple's playing a very, very big role as Apple's selling off. So this is looking weak. The QQQ looks like as long as this level ends up breaking around this 352.7 area, I see it coming all the way down to 350 very soon. I think it looks more bearish, and the bears are in control again. If you look at the chart, it's just continuing to sell off. So 350 is coming. Looks very, very weak. Nvidia is starting to weaken a bit, and we were talking about this gap down here, which I think Nvidia is going to fill soon. Nvidia is starting to weaken, so watch this level way down here. We have this unfilled gap around this 410 area. We almost filled it, but we didn't fully fill it right here during the pre-market. So there are lots of gaps to the downside for Nvidia, and we're likely going to see this thing start to decline a bit. Now, with Nvidia declining, like I said before, if we end up basing at 410, because Nvidia has some relative strength associated with it, we could see it try to base around there. But if it breaks, then there is a possibility of it coming all the way down to 405. But nonetheless, I do see downside being imminent for the stock. It's starting to slow down already, and we have this potential bearish crossover right here. Also, on the 30 minutes time frame, I think there was a divergence time frame. Let me just double check it. We technically formed a bearish divergence right here. And then with that potentially forming, Nvidia also has a possible head and shoulders. We have a left shoulder here, the head, the right shoulder forming. This thing has potential to come all the way down to 410 or even below that very soon. Nvidia looks bearish to me. Downside looks imminent. The VIX is still holding up. It's approaching that 20 area, getting closer to it. It's still very resilient, and once again, the market is still slowing down as a result. The dollar is pumping, oil is going up, the yields are going up. Yields are once again continuing to rise, another bearish trigger for the stock market, and the dollar is continuing to gain strength, which is another bearish signal. The dollar still looks strong. The market is still looking weak nonetheless. So on SPY, just as a reminder, you're going to be watching the low of the day. Watch 424 to 423.76. If that breaks, you guys know the next level. We're going to be coming down even lower. 422.5 is on the table. Below that, we have the big gap down below. We have 420, we have 418. We have lots of targets for the downside. 418 is where I think it's going to be heading over the next week or so. I think there's more downside potential. I think the bears are in full control. That is my view, guys. It is what it is, and the market failed. It really failed to get that bounce. It was trying in the morning. It failed. We didn't break the critical levels, and now the bears took full advantage. All right, guys, so thank you for listening. Hopefully this video was helpful for how the charts are looking. I want the best for everyone, so thank you, and peace out.